Gopijana Balaba Girivanedhari Jaya Gopijana Balaba Girivanedhari Yashoyanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoyanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayarada Madhava Kunjabihari Jayarada Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivanedhari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Girivanedhari Yashoyanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoyanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayarada Madhava Kunjabihari Jayarada Madhava Kunjabihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Astotada Sudashi Srimad ISKCON Founder Acharya's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Brajabhumi Vrindavandam Ki Shri Mayapur Ki Gangamaya Ki Yamunamaya Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo bhagavate vasudevaya Narayanam namaskriya Naram cheva narottamam Daivim sarasvati vyasa Tatordayam udirayet Nasta prayeshu abhadeshu Nityam bhagavata-sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke Bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 11, entitled Pure Devotional Service. Etāvān eva yajatām niḥśreyasodayaḥ bhagavati acalo bhāvo bhagavata-saṅgataḥ etāvān eva yajatām niḥśreyasodayaḥ bhagavati acalo bhāvo bhagavata-saṅgataḥ etāvān eva yajatām niḥśreyasodayaḥ bhagavati acalo bhāvo bhagavata-saṅgataḥ bhāvo bhagavata-saṅgataḥ bhagavata-saṅgataḥ. etāvān eva yajatām niḥśreyasodayaḥ acalo bhāvo bhagavata-saṅgataḥ. Anyone else, ladies? Etāvān eva yajatām niḥśreyasodayaḥ bhagavati acalo bhāvo bhagavata-saṅgataḥ. etāvān eva yajatām niḥśreyasodayaḥ bhagavata-saṅgataḥ. Anyone else? Etāvān, all these different kinds of worshippers. Eva, certainly. Yajatām, while worshipping. Iha, in this life. Niḥśreyasa, the highest benediction. Udayaḥ, development. Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Acalaḥ, unflinching. Bhāvaḥ, spontaneous attraction. Yat, which. Bhagavata, the pure devotee of the Lord. Saṅgataḥ, association. All the different kinds of worshippers of multi-demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotees of the Lord. Please repeat. All the different kinds of worshippers of multi-demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotee of the Lord. All living entities in different statuses of life within the material creation, beginning from the first demigod Brahmā down to the small ant, are conditioned under the law of material nature or the external energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity in his pure state is conscious of the fact that he is part and parcel of the Lord. But when he is thrown into the material world, on account of his desire to lord it over material energy, he becomes conditioned by the three modes of material nature and thus struggles for existence for the highest benefit. This struggle for existence is something like following the will of the wisp under the spell of material enjoyment. All plans for material enjoyment, either by worship of different demigods, as described in the previous verses of this chapter, or by modernized advancement of scientific knowledge without the help of God or demigod, are illusory only. For despite all such plans for happiness, the conditioned living being within the compass of material creation can never solve the problem of life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. The history of the universe is full of such plan makers, and many kings and emperors come and go, leaving a plan-making story only. But the prime problems of life remain unsolved, despite all endeavors by such plan makers. Actually, human life is meant for making a solution to the problems of life. One can never solve such problems by satisfying the different demigods by different modes of worship or by so-called scientific advancement in knowledge without the help of God or the demigods. Apart from the gross materialists who care very little either for God or for demigods, the Vedas recommend worship of different demigods for different benefits, and so the demigods are neither false nor imaginary. The demigods are as factual as we are, but they are much more powerful due to their being engaged in the direct service of the Lord in managing different departments in the universal government. The Bhagavad Gita affirms this, and the different planets of the demigods are mentioned there, including the one of the supreme demigod, Lord Brahmā. The gross materialists do not believe in the existence of God or the demigods, nor do they believe that different planets are dominated by different demigods. They are creating a great commotion about reaching the closest celestial body, Chandraloka, or the moon. But even after much mechanical research, they have only very scanty information of this moon. And in spite of much false advertisement for selling land on the moon, the puffed-up scientists or gross materialists cannot live there, and what to speak of reaching the other planets which they are unable even to count. However, the followers of the Vedas have a different method of acquiring knowledge. They accept the statements of the Vedic literatures as authority in toto, as we have already discussed in Canto 1, and therefore they have full and reasonable knowledge of God and demigods and of their different residential planets situated within the compass of the material world and beyond the limit of the material sky. The most authentic Vedic literature accepted by the great Indian acharyas like Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhava, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, and Chaitanya, all important personalities of the world, is the Bhagavad Gita, in which the worship of the demigods and their respective residential planets are mentioned. The Bhagavad Gita 9.25 affirms, Yanti Deva, Vrata Devan, Pitrin Yanti Pitri Vataha, Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja, Yanti Madhyajino Pimam. The worshippers of demigods reach the respective planets of the demigods, and the worshippers of forefathers reach the planets of the forefathers. The gross materialist remains in the different material planets, but devotees of the Lord reach the kingdom of God. We also have information from Bhagavad Gita that all the planets within the material world, including Brahmaloka, are but temporarily situated, and after a fixed period they are all annihilated. Therefore the demigods and their followers are all annihilated at the period of devastation. But one who reaches the kingdom of God gets a permanent share in eternal life. That is the verdict of Vedic literature. The worshippers of demigods have one facility more than the unbelievers due to their being convinced of the Vedic version, by which they can get information of the benefit of worshiping the Supreme Lord in the association of the devotees of the Lord. The gross materialists, however, without any faith in the Vedic version, remain eternally in darkness, driven by a false conviction on the basis of imperfect experimental knowledge, or so-called material science, which can never reach into the realm of transcendental knowledge. Therefore, unless the gross materialists or the worshippers of the temporary demigods come in contact with a transcendentalist like the pure devotee of the Lord, their attempts are simply a waste of energy. Only by the grace of the divine personalities, the pure devotees of the Lord, can one achieve pure devotion, which is the highest perfection of human life. Only a pure devotee of the Lord can show one the right way of progressive life. Otherwise, both the materialistic way of life, without any information of God or the demigods, and the life engaged in the worship of demigods in pursuit of temporary material enjoyments are different phases of phantasmagoria. They are nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita also, but the Bhagavad Gita can be understood in the association of pure devotees only, and not by the interpretations of politicians or dry philosophical speculators. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Ginagina Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Gina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So here Prabhupada is describing the futility even of worshipping demigods. What to speak of being an atheist? Antavatu palam te sham tadbhavati alpameda sham devan deva yajo yanti yanti mad yajino pimam. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the demigods can supply you only temporary benefits. And once using up all your pious credits in the heavenly planets, if you want to go there, yanti deva vrata devan, pitrin yanti pitri vrataha. So one can go to higher planets. Prabhupada wrote a book called Easy Journey to Other Planets, where he was describing, because obviously even the atheistic people, like Ravana, he tried to build a staircase up to the heavenly planets, And there's a lot of talk and a lot of waste of money and energy on moon excursions. It's such a horrible lie against the public that somehow or other the scientists and politicians are cheating the people. Rajasu Janaka Dasyu. In the age of Kali, the leaders in government, they're stealing the money of the people in general. They're compared in the fifth canto even to be like flesh-eating rakshasas, simply draining the blood of the people in general, and with these promises of going to the moon. Meanwhile, in so many ways, people are suffering in this age of Kali from a lack of basic necessities of life. So at least in the Vedic culture, people were at least encouraged to worship demigods, istan bhoga nivo deva dasyante yagibhavitaha. That by worshiping these demigods, all the various necessities of life were provided. Dasyante yagibhavitaha. That by worshiping these demigods, performing yagyas, all the necessities of life would be provided. Of course, Krishna says, Name vidu surgana prabhavam nam maharishaya. Aham adirhi devanam, that I'm the source of all the demigods. Even Lord Brahma is saying it. In fact, he's saying even the Vishnu avatars who are creating this universe, Mahavishnu, Garbhadaksha Vishnu, that they are also, Yasyaika Nishmapita Akilatma Buddha, that they are also coming from the son of Maharaj Nanda, Lord Krishna. So ultimately, Krishna is emphasizing, even in the Bhagavad Gita, and also Srimad Bhagavatam in this particular second canto, he's saying, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajate Purisham Param, that whatever you have, desire you have, akamo savakamo va mokshakamo daradi. If you have lots of material desires, you have no material desires, you have desire to become liberated. As Prabhupada says, human civilization is going through 4 cycles. First there's dharma, religiosity for the purpose of economic advancement, artha. Once they get artha, then they want to gratify their senses, kama. And once they're frustrated by trying to gratify their senses, like in the Western world, if you happen to have lived in America or these wealthy, so-called wealthy countries, you see how much frustration there is in human society, completely frustrated. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagahi upadruta. Upadruta, they're very, very disturbed people. Although there's so much wealth and so-called material advancement and so much obsession with technological advancement, very demoniac civilization. Although there's are all these so-called advancements, still they're very unhappy, so they start looking for moksha. Therefore, we see in the Western world so many people are investigating philosophy from India, like Buddhism, the path of yoga, Patanjali yoga system. So they're at least trying to get some moksha. But of course, Krishna is saying in this verse, Tivrina Bhakti Yogena, that the real liberation is once one comes to the path of devotional service. Here in the Purport, Prabhupada is talking about that only by getting the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord can one actually attain pure devotional service. People are trying to aspire. Sometimes we meet them in the streets when we're preaching, oh no, I have my own path. But in the 7th canto, Narada Muni is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj that Dharma bhado vidharma syat para dharma nachoditaha upadharma tu pakando dambova shabda bich chala, that people are practicing religion which is actually irreligious. And there's 5 types of irreligion which are are masqueraded as religion. Dharma bhado, religion which goes against the principles of religion, just like Lord Buddha came, although he's an incarnation of God, and he's teaching actually irreligion, that, the Vedas is man-made, there's no God, the ultimate goal is nirvana, or voidism, and so on. Paradharma nachoditaha, one whose religion is concocted. Upadharma tu pakando, religion which is made is developed out of pride. Just like we see people say, our religion is better than yours. You're going to hell, doesn't matter what you follow. Like this, upadharma tu pakando, dambova shabda bich chala, means that people also use word jugglery. Like Prakashananda Saraswati, when he met Lord Chaitanya, oh, you're like Narayan. So Shankaracharya, he taught this word jugglery, this Mayavad impersonalist philosophy, that somehow or other you can carve out the idea that you're God. They dare to declare that they're God. And Prabhupada, when someone told him, Swamiji, I'm God, Prabhupada in San Francisco, Srila Prabhupada said, Jai, please accept my humble obeisances. No, please leave. Another time, Prabhupada looked at the fellow and said, you're God? So in this way, people shabda bich chala, they convolute the siddhanta, just like this famous writer Krishnamurti. He said it's not to the person Krishna you have to surrender to, but to the oneness, the oneness in the universe that you have to surrender. However, Krishna tells Arjuna in the 14th chapter, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Pratishtaham, I'm the foundation of the Brahmana effulgency, of the Brahmana effulgence. Amritasya vyayasya cha, shashvatasya cha dharmasya, sukasya ikantikasya cha. The people are trying to get happiness in different ways through these false ideas of religion. But naishammatis tavadu rukamangring sprishasya anartapamo yadarta mahiya sampada rajobhishekam niskinchananam navrinita yavad. Prahlad says, unless you take the dust from the lotus feet of the pure devotee of the Lord, who is niskinchananam or akinchananam, who has no material desire, no material desire. That means what? A famous philosopher said that the negation of something is the acceptance of something else. There's no void. So niskinchana, one who has no material desire, must be full of love for Krishna. Krishna prema. There's no void there. As in the 10th canto, Sukadeva Goswami says, Arurukrichena parampadam tata patanti ado nadriti yushmarangraya. Because you don't have a taste for the beautiful, transcendental beauty of Lord Krishna, who is crowned with a peacock feather, and who is engaged in eternally ecstatic, loving relationships with his eternal parts and parcels. Mamaivam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. We're eternal parts and parcels, and our swarup, our birthright, is how to love God. Prabhupada, when he came to the airport in Dallas, what are you teaching, Swamiji? I'm teaching you what if you have forgotten. What's that? How to love God. That sounds a little, a little bit, nebule. But loving God means it is very tangible. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come as a devotee, and he's freely giving this prema, which is the highest. It's a paramount stage of self-realization, and exhibiting what it's like to love God. He exhibited this during the festival of the Rath Yatra. He was, exhibiting all these symptoms of love of God. The 6 Goswamis are empowered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, isn't it? Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipano Sadharma Samstapano. That they studied all the scriptures of the Vedas. There's so many Vedic literatures. And the essence is, they have given us in the form of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the form of Vidagdha Madhava, a play written by Rupa Goswami. And Radharani, she's hearing Krishna's flute, and her body starts to tremble. And Lalita is telling one of the other gopis that, no, she's trembling because there's cold wind blowing. And the gopi said, I don't feel any cold wind. So Radharani is like, just by hearing Krishna's flute, her body starts trembling. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited these symptoms. The great devotees of the Lord, they also experience these wonderful symptoms of love for Krishna. So how do we get to this place? Jara marna mokshaya mamupecha punarjanma dukala yamashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanas samsiddhim paramam gatim. That by engaging in devotional service, Krishna promises us that we can step on the head of death. That janma mritu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu, that darshanam. The real problem of life is birth, death, old age, and disease. And therefore Krishna warns Arjuna, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino juna, that from the highest planet down to the lowest, Atala, Patala, all these different lower planets, and down in the lower areas of the universe, they're all places of birth and death. And the history in Srimad Bhagavatam is demonstrating that the real purpose is to come across this ocean, the Vaitarani River, and develop our love for Krishna. This is the conclusion of the Vedic literatures. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam. The ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures is the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is emphasizing in the 10th canto that, as Krishna tells Arjuna, Bhaktis tu ananyaya shakyam aham evam vidorjuna. He tells Arjuna, he shows the universe of form, first of all, to Arjuna. He shows that all the devas, all the various creatures in this universe, sarva yonishu murtaya aham bija pradapita, that I'm the seed-giving father of all the various species of life. Murtiya sambhavantiya tesham brahma mahadyanir aham bija pradapita. So he shows Arjuna all these various celestial beings, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Kinnaras, and then he shows even the demoniac in the subterranean heavenly planets. There's demoniac people who enjoy sense gratification. And then Arjuna asks him to show his more personal form, his two-armed form. And so Krishna reveals, yes, I am your friend also. Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. I'm your friend, you're my devotee, we have a relationship. And then he says, Naham vedar na tapasa na danina na checheya. He says, you cannot see me in my personal form. You cannot understand me standing here before you by studying the Vedas, by performing great austerities, by giving in charity, by even by any kind of worship. This is not how you can get how I reveal myself to you. And in the next verse, Bhaktistu ananyaya shakya ahamevam vidorjuna gatum drastum chitatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. That you can only understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of all things, material and spiritual, is the son of Maharaj Nanda, who is playing with his friends along the banks of the Yamuna River. That is the ultimate goal. So devotees of the Lord like Madhava and Japuri, they don't even care that Krishna is God. He says, let them study the Vedic literatures, let them study Upanishads, let them do all the yagyas and tapasyas. I simply want to remember and associate with the son of Maharaj Nanda, who's herding calves in the courtyard of Maharaj Nanda. So Krishna is so happy when we try to become ananyaya, devotees without any tinge of desire for followers or profit or adoration or distinction or even knowledge. Oh yeah, I'm a Vedavadi Rata. I know all the 4 Vedas. I'm a Chaturvedi. I know all the 4 Vedas. I know Sanskrit. I know so much Sanskrit. Krishna doesn't care. The gopis are quite illiterate. They're milkmaids. Gorkashodas Babaji, his disciple was the greatest scholar of the times, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Great scholar, humongous scholar, lion guru, encyclopedia personified. And he accepted Diksha from Gorkashodas Babaji, who was illiterate, but had great devotion for the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wasn't impressed. Even Vallabhacharya, he came and he tried to impress Lord Chaitanya. And he's a great scholar also. Lord Chaitanya was not impressed by him. You know, and he actually chastised him a little bit, right? Vallabha was saying that why don't you, Swami is master, why do you, the wife should never say the name of the husband, but you keep saying Hare Krishna, the name of, you are Prakriti, Krishna is Purusha. And Lord Chaitanya said, well, Sridhar Swami, all the acharyas, they say, Kirtanadeva Krishnasya, like we should chant the name of Krishna. One who disrespects the master is nothing but a prostitute. So he indicated that Vallabha was like a prostitute by not chanting the holy name of Krishna. So, taking shelter of the pure devotee of the Lord, that is what we're trying to do, trying to please the great spiritual masters and engage in devotional service. Narottam Das Thakur says, when will I hanker after hearing the teachings of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan? He said, when will I hanker for that? When will I have a taste to hear the descriptions given by the 6 Goswamis? Upadeshamrita, so many books, Ujjval Nilamani, so many books that were written by Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. They are actually associates of Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so kind to us because in Satya Yuga you had to meditate for 100,000 years. Kriteya Dhyayato Vishnu. In Satya Yuga you had to meditate for hundreds and thousands of years. But it says in Kali Yuga, Kali Tat, Dari Kirtanats, simply by chanting the name of Hari, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so kindly has invested all the potency in this name Krishna. So the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they're describing to us how we can have this beautiful, wonderful attraction and taste for the holy name, which is full of potencies. And the holy name, of course, is a person. So all of Krishna's pastimes are contained within the holy name of the Lord. There's none different. devotees of the Lord, Rupa Goswami advises us to engage with great enthusiasm and determination, utsahan niḥśreyasodayaḥ, that we should be very enthusiastically trying to serve the great devotees of the Lord. The great acharyas, tat karma pravartana, we want to follow in their footsteps. We want to exclusively associate with devotees of the Lord with great enthusiasm. Satatam kirtayantu mami tantascha dhridavrataha. Always chanting the glories of Krishna and avoiding mundane talks, pursuit of material possessions, subtle and gross. These things are advised to us by Rupa Goswami, isn't it? Atyahara prayashascha prajalpaniyamagraha janasangas chaloliam cha sadvir bhaktir pranashyati utsahan niḥśreyasodayaḥ tat karma pravartana, that we should engage with confidence in devotional service, but under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. How do we do that? How do we associate with the great acharyas? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Srila Prabhupada said that it was Krishna who wrote these books. He said, I didn't write these books. I'm simply an instrument. Ramananda Roy told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wrote Jagannath Vallabha Nataka. He said that I'm just a stringed instrument and you're playing, my tongue is like a stringed instrument and you're just playing it. And I'm speaking to Pradyumna Mishra, a very high-born Brahmin, about the most intimate aspects of love of God. So Srila Prabhupada said, authors don't read their books, but I'm always reading my books. Because these books are actually dictated to Srila Prabhupada by Krishna himself. Prabhupada said that Krishna has written these books. And Prabhupada even said, even if they touch my books, their lives may become perfect. If they read one word, they'll get so purified. Therefore, Prabhupada was always stressing, distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. And we see that people, their lives become changed simply by hearing from the great devotee of the Lord. It acts upon their hearts and purify their hearts. Adoshada tata sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, they're associating with the great devotee of the Lord. And a moment's association, lava matra sadhu sangha savasiti hoy, they can become perfect. So Prabhupada is trying to help people come out of this ocean of birth and death. And he's living in his literature, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, he reasons ill who say that Vaishnavas die, for Vaishnavas live in sound. And in living in sound, they spread the holy name around. So this is how we're giving the world Srila Prabhupada. Here it is, the great, great, real saintly Acharya, Mahabhagavat. We're giving it to you. Otherwise, there's so many false pseudo-yogis, pseudo-sadhus. That's described by Jadabhara to Maharaj Rahugana in the 5th canto. He's saying that sometimes the living entity in the forest of material enjoyment, he's suffering so much, even it's compared that his relatives, his wife, his children, materialistic wives and children are like jackals in the forest. His wife is like a tiger. Simply exploiting. As Prahlad Maharaj tells his father, your real enemy is your own mind. You don't, Vishnu is not your enemy. Your mind is your enemy. Bandhur atmat manastasya. The mind can be your friend or your enemy. Satruve, it can be your enemy. So Jadabhara is telling Maharaj Rahugana that in this forest of material enjoyment, sometimes the struggling human being tries to take shelter of some great yogi from India, from the Himalayas. And he says, yeah, you can become God, just follow me, give me lots of money. And they go to America and they make millions and millions of dollars, and they're simply compared to vultures and birds of prey that prey and eat the flesh of creatures, flesh-eating creatures. Mogasha moga karmana moga jnana vichestistaha rakshashim asurim chaiva. They're simply demons in the guise of sadhus, simply disguised as sadhus. So Prabhupada in one purport says, it's so much anxiety for me, all these false preachers and false yogis and sadhus for simply misguiding the population of the world, simply misguiding them and exploiting them. Andaryata andaryopaniyamanas tipishi tantriyo urdayagataha nate vidu swa artagatimi Vishnu. They don't know that Lord Vishnu is the ultimate goal of life, how to love God. Nate vidu swa artam. The real self-interest is how to love the Supreme Lord. And Krishna, of course, is the source of Vishnu. Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. Andaryata, they are blind people leading the blind into the ditch of material existence. And Krishna says, Tata pralinas tamasa mudo jonisujayate. If people die under the influence of the mode of ignorance, what is the mode of ignorance? Intoxication, animal slaughter. These are all in the mode of ignorance. Prabhupada said hotels, brothels, these kind of things, bars, liquor shops. This is mode of ignorance. Tata pralinas tamasa mudo joni sujayate. In their next life, they take birth in the animal species. Patanti narakes, which Krishna condemns them in the 16th chapter. They simply glide down to the hellish planets. So the business of pleasing the spiritual master is, of course, you become Krishna conscious. You become fixed in Krishna consciousness, nishta. You become fixed, and then you develop ruchi. You develop a taste for the holy name, a taste for devotional service, and then you deliver the fallen souls. Right? Yare deke tara kaha Krishna upadesh, amara gana guru hana edesh. You become a spiritual master. Vartmana pradarshaka guru. You give Krishna to someone. Prabhupada said even a child can go up to someone and say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, take this book, chant Hare Krishna. Even a child can be a Madhyamadikari, preaching devotee. Ghostiyanandi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that there are Bhajananandis and there's Ghostiyanandis. But Bhakti Siddhanta always emphasized that we must become Ghostiyanandis. We must not simply care for our own bhajan, but we should be feeling compassion. Radharani is very compassionate. So we have to pray for her energy, her mercy, that we can also express compassion for the conditioned souls. And we should take risks to deliver them from this horrible place of birth and death. Samasritaye paraparavaplavam mahatparam punyan yasho murari vambudir bastam padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. The people are going through life step by step. And they don't realize it, but there's so many types of dangers. Forest of material enjoyment, full of dangers. The government's after them. Some enemy is after them. Sometimes the father will kill his own son, or the son will kill his own father. Sometimes the wife will kill the husband, or the husband will kill the wife. This is going on in Kali Yuga. So in that verse it says, if one takes shelter of Murari, the killer of the Mura demon, Lord Krishna, he went to Bhaumasura's castle and he killed the Mura demon, Murari, the enemy of Mura. If you take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, then this entire place will become, will bring you out, you will come out of the dangers of this world, and you can deliver others from this horrible place, this ocean of Kali Yuga. Kali Doshani Day. It's an ocean of miseries. And so Srila Prabhupada has really requested us, you become Krishna conscious, you practice your practice of sadhana bhakti, And you make sure you don't commit the 10 offenses to the holy name. Avoid the 10 offenses. And then you'll come to some taste for glorifying the Lord. Taste for the holy name. You lose your jaundice. Holy name is very sweet, but we won't be able to taste that sweetness. We're taking the sugar candy, rock candy, but it's bitter at the beginning. But gradually, as we engage with determination, Vrata, with determination in devotional service, under the guidance of the great devotees, then we will get a taste for chanting the holy name. Vedi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Vedi means forcing mechanically, getting up early and attending Mangalarti and sadhana, doing your sadhana. But Raganuga is when you're spontaneously enthusiastic to please Krishna. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusma yujacha, mai arpitamano buddhir. Krishna tells Arjuna, you should do your duty. Therefore, Arjuna, you should perform your prescribed duty. At the same time, put your mind and intelligence in me. Intelligence. How I can always remember Krishna. Rupa Goswami says, always remember Krishna and never forget him. Therefore, Prabhupada has given us Krishna book. And he's given us the pastimes of the Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya is very, very merciful. He has these wonderful pastimes. And in Kali Yuga, Lord is very, very merciful. Lord Nityananda is very, very merciful, and they're very humorous also. Like Nityananda and Advaita Acharya are having water fights near the Gundicha Mandir. And they're fighting with each other, and Nityananda wins the water fight, and Advaita Acharya starts cursing him with bad words. And Nityananda, is at the house of Advaita Acharya, and Lord Chaitanya said, you're giving me too much prasad. And, every time Lord Chaitanya would eat out of a pot, Advaita Acharya would fill it up again. In converse to that, Nityananda is sitting there telling Advaita, I have been fasting for 3 days and you can hardly fill my belly. And Advaita Acharya, you're ruining my smriti regulations, my smarta. He's acting like a smarta Brahmin. So you're my guest. You should simply accept what I offer you. You're simply a reject Paramahansa. So he calls Nityananda. This is kind of an indirect way of glorifying Lord Nityananda. You're a reject Paramahansa. You're a Paramahansa. And then Nityananda picks up some rice from his plate and he throws it at the feet of Advaita Acharya, who starts dancing in ecstasy. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna light. When Krishna came, he created a river of blood. He destroyed Jarasanda's army 17 times, and there was dead animals and dead soldiers and so much blood flowing like that. Krishna was killing Shalva, cut his head off. So, that's Krishna hard. Prichanaya sadhanam vinashayacha duskritam. I'm going to kill the demons. He says in the 16th chapter, right? Prabhavanti ugra karmana shaya jagatohita. I destroy their civilization. Lord Chaitanya is so merciful. And Lord Nityananda, that even Jaga and Mayadai were murderers and rapists and killers, that they were delivered by the mercy of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. So merciful in this age. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has asked us to practice devotional service, feeling oneself below a straw lying in the street. Feel oneself lower than the straw in the street. Become very tolerant. So many times in the West, when we're preaching, they throw us in prison. Or I remember in Russia in the 80s, they had devotees in labor camps in Siberia, and one devotee's baby died from frostbite, freezing. And other devotees behind the Iron Curtain, they were persecuted and they were killed by the government. In the West, they just throw us in prison and then in jail, but because they have laws to protect people's rights, they always have to release us. But during this time of year, Christmas marathons, we always get thrown in jail. We have our own adversaries. So Trinadapi Sunicana Tarora Eva Sahishnana. The one should be humble and tolerant, or else how can we preach? If we retaliate against people who are, adverse to us or offensive, Haridas Thakur was a great example, right? They beat him in 22 marketplaces, and he was praying to Lord Chaitanya, don't send Sudarshan Chakra, don't, please. And he's praying so hard that they wouldn't get any reactions from the Lord and from Yamaraj, the Lord Chaitanya wasn't able to send his Sudarshan to kill them. He's so merciful. He was praying for their benefit. Let them go back to Godhead. And they were beating him, trying to kill him. So are we there yet? I remember so many times the police are harassing us, and we're like, what's your badge number? I'm going to report you. Write down the badge number. Retaliation. Of course, many times they would arrest us, and we'd start trying to sell them a Bhagavad Gita. Those are fun, nice times. And yeah, so that is the situation in the material world. There will always be adversaries to the devotees. Devotees will take all risks to spread the mercy of the Lord, knowing quite well that, that the Lord always protects his devotee. Daivim prakritim ashvitaha. Mahatmanastumam parta daivim prakritim. We're under, the devotee expects the protection of the Lord, expects the mercy of the Lord. And even if there's some injury or some adverse situation, the Lord may sometimes send us some tests, right? The devotee accepts it as some reaction to past sinful activities. Thank you. So, is there any comments or questions about this verse? We can have one or two.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for a very nice class. You spoke about pseudo-Vaishnavas. Prabhu, what is the definition of pseudo-Vaishnava and how we can identify him, or what danger he can cause to our community, and how can I understand that I am a pseudo-devotee or not?
Prabhupada also warned us not to be duplicitous. Means you're acting like a devotee, but privately you're behaving in demoniac ways. You may be committing sinful activities or something. Prabhupada warned us, don't be duplicitous. Devotee is very transparent. So even within the assembly of devotees, there are pitfalls. There are deviations and distractions. I may want to exploit other devotees. I may have some hidden agendas in coming to Krishna consciousness. So that's one type of pseudo-devotee. So we should be careful about our association. Of course, then there are the blatant pseudo-devotees, like the sahajas, and Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, of course, Bhaktisiddhanta in a great way, he destroyed the apasampradayas, the Sakibekis, the sahajas, the baulas. There were 12 apasampradayas where they dress like devotees, but they say we can enjoy like Krishna. Krishna is enjoying, yada yada chariti shreshtas tata. We should follow in his footsteps. you know, and I met a Sanskrit scholar at McGill University, and yeah, I'm a devotee of Krishna. I can speak to you the entire Bhagavad Gita right now, you know. Like the wind, he was quoting Sanskrit. So I said, yeah, I have a club here on the university campus, and I'd like to invite you to come. And, you know, we serve prasadam. He said, no, you're in the West now. You should serve hamburger. And I said, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you quoted the verse, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam. You know what he told me? He said, Krishna ordered Arjuna to kill 640 million human beings. So what's the problem with killing a few cows and offering hamburger? It's just like complete chala dharma, you know, like Dambhava, Shabda Bitch Chala. Word jugglery, and he's a big Sanskrit scholar in a very prominent university in the West, McGill, famous university. And he was just justifying, you know, no, you know, these Western countries, you know, their culture is to eat meat, so we have to cater to them and then preach Bhagavad Gita. Look, Krishna ordered Arjuna to kill 630 million human beings. What's a few cows, you know? They're inferior creature. So completely lost, completely covered by illusory energy, maya, aparita jnana. They're covered by illusion, although they're highly intellectual people. They have Sanskrit far more than devotees do. They have such a mastership of Sanskrit. So these are pseudo-devotees, so-called devotees of God. And there's so many of them, so many cheaters. But Prabhupada is that's why in his books he's attacking and exposing all types of demons and rascals. And he uses the word fools and rascals so many times when he's speaking to the so-called intellectuals of society who are cheating people. Hare Krishna, glory to Srila Prabhupada.